Most people think financial progress begins with a dramatic move, a bigger paycheck, a side hustle that suddenly takes off, a stock that doubles, a brilliant investment decision that changes everything overnight. That's the fantasy. It's the version of financial success that feels cinematic and exciting. It's also the version that rarely describes how real people actually build stability. In real life, most people do not get financially stuck because they made one catastrophic mistake. They get stuck because their life has too many small leak points to notice in real time. Money leaves quietly. A payment here, a convenience purchase there, a subscription nobody remembers signing up for, a treat-yourself habit that never feels expensive in the moment. By the time the damage becomes visible, it no longer feels like one decision. It feels like life simply became expensive. And to be fair, life actually did become expensive. The average financed new car payment in the United States reached about $772 per month in late 2025, and more than 1 in 5 buyers committed to payments above $1,000 monthly. That is more than $9,000 a year before fuel, insurance, maintenance, or parking. Meanwhile, the USDA estimates Americans still waste roughly 30 to 40% of the food supply, which means the average family of 4 throws away about $1,500 worth of food every year. Bankrate's recent emergency savings report found that only 46% of Americans have enough savings to cover 3 months of expenses, while nearly 1/4 have no emergency savings at all. This is the financial environment people are trying to survive in. Housing, insurance, repairs, transportation, groceries, and medical costs have all gotten heavier. Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies reports that more than 22 million renter households now spend over 30% of their income on housing alone. When fixed costs reach that level, the small decisions suddenly matter a lot more. The tiny habits start to become structural forces. This is why the boring habits become powerful. They are not about becoming extreme or joyless. They are about becoming less fragile. They are about building a life where one bad month does not knock you backward, where a repair bill does not become credit card debt, and where a raise actually improves your future instead of disappearing into a slightly upgraded version of the same stress. Habit 1. Drive an older car longer than your ego wants to. Transportation is one of the fastest ways people accidentally lock themselves into a high-cost lifestyle. A newer car feels responsible, clean, adult. The payment becomes normalized because everyone around you seems to be doing the same thing. But the payment is only part of the story. The real cost is the combination of payment, depreciation, insurance, and the pressure to upgrade again a few years later. A $772 monthly car payment equals more than $9,000 every year before gas or insurance. Over 10 years, that is more than $90,000 simply moving through your bank account. What that really costs you is margin. If that same $772 were invested monthly at a long-term market return of around 8%, the compounding effect over 15 years could approach $250,000. In other words, the financial trade-off is not just new car versus old car. It is often new car versus long-term financial flexibility. Cars are one of the easiest places to exchange long-term stability for short-term social approval, and that approval fades almost immediately. A reliable used car may not impress anyone, but what it really protects is your cash flow, your stress level, and your ability to make other decisions from strength instead of pressure. Here is a simple question that rarely gets asked. If someone handed you $250,000 today, would you trade it for a slightly newer car every few years? Most people would say no immediately. Yet that is exactly the financial trade many households quietly make over time without realizing it. The danger is not that the decision is reckless. The danger is that it feels normal. Habit 2. Rotate simple meals instead of reinventing dinner every night. One of the most expensive forces in modern life is not food itself. It is food indecision. When every week starts with the question, what should we eat? Spending becomes reactive and emotional. Grocery carts fill with optimism. You buy ingredients for the version of yourself who cooks elaborate meals every night, experiments with new recipes, and never feels tired after work. Then real life shows up. The week gets busy. Half the ingredients sit untouched. Takeout becomes the backup plan. That pattern is how $1,500 in food quietly turns into trash each year. Meal rotation removes that chaos. 4 to 6 dependable meals repeated weekly stabilize the system. Grocery shopping becomes predictable. Waste drops dramatically. Cooking becomes easier. What this really saves you is not only money, but decision fatigue. When dinner is already decided, you stop spending mental energy on food drama and start spending less money solving it. The goal is not to eliminate variety. The goal is to remove unnecessary friction from everyday life so your food spending becomes calm instead of reactive. Habit 3. Use what you already have before buying more. Most households behave as if their pantry does not exist. They shop as though the refrigerator is empty, the freezer is empty, and the cabinet inventory does not count. The result is layers of groceries slowly aging into waste. The fix is brutally simple. Before restocking, you eat the house down. Pasta, frozen vegetables, eggs, rice, leftovers, random sauces, canned beans, whatever is already sitting there. Suddenly, dinner becomes a practical puzzle instead of another shopping trip. What this habit really protects is honesty. You start seeing the difference between what you imagine you consume and what you actually consume. Most financial problems begin inside that gap. The gap between imagined spending and real spending is where money quietly disappears. Habit 4. Make your daily drinks at home. People love to mock the skip the latte conversation because one coffee clearly will not ruin your life. And that is true. The issue is not the product, it is the frequency. A $6 coffee feels harmless, a $6 pattern does not. Buy one specialty drink every weekday and you quietly spend around $1,500 to $2,000 per year. Over 20 years, even modest investment returns could turn that annual amount into well over $60,000. That is not about guilt, it is about awareness. What daily convenience purchases really cost you is normalization. They train your brain to treat premium pricing as default behavior. Brewing at home flips that script. It turns convenience into an occasional choice rather than a daily tax on your routine. Habit 5. Bring food with you instead of buying every meal outside. This habit looks small until you see it in real life. Imagine a family of 4 traveling through an airport. Breakfast sandwiches, drinks, snacks, maybe lunch before boarding. That single airport stop can easily reach $60 or $80. Multiply that across several travel days and food alone can quietly exceed $300 or $400 on a short trip. The same pattern happens at work, during errands, or on busy afternoons. Hunger plus convenience equals expensive decisions. What bringing food really protects is control. A packed lunch, snacks in your bag, or groceries picked up on the first day of a trip change the math immediately. You do not have to eliminate restaurants or experiences. You simply stop outsourcing every meal to the highest priced environment available. Habit 6. Add friction back into shopping. Online shopping is engineered to remove hesitation. Your card is saved. Your size is remembered. Checkout takes seconds. The distance between impulse and transaction has been designed to disappear. Algorithms recommend things you did not know you wanted 5 seconds ago. So the smartest financial habit is not necessarily discipline, it is friction. Delete the shopping app. Remove saved payment methods. Wait 48 hours before buying anything non-essential. Require yourself to physically re-enter payment information or visit a store. A surprising number of purchases disappear the moment they require a small amount of effort. That reveals something uncomfortable. Many purchases are not solving real problems. They are solving temporary emotions, like boredom, stress, or comparison. A lot of people are not broke because they spend wildly. They are broke because their lifestyle has no pressure release valve. Every dollar already has somewhere to go before it even arrives. When life works like that, even a small, unexpected expense can trigger debt. Habit 7. Stop treating your wardrobe like an identity project. Clothing spending sits at the intersection of status, insecurity, and social comparison. The pressure to constantly refresh how you present yourself can quietly drain both money and attention. A simpler wardrobe does the opposite. It closes the loop. You find what works and repeat it. What this really saves is not just money, but mental bandwidth. When you stop editing your identity through constant purchases, your spending becomes calmer, and your life becomes simpler. The bridge, from identity spending to system design. Once identity spending calms down, something interesting happens. You finally have space to build systems instead of reacting to impulses. Habit 8. Pay yourself first. Saving at the end of the month rarely works because spending expands to fill whatever money remains. Automatic saving reverses the order. Retirement contributions, emergency fund transfers, and investment deposits happen first. Then life runs on what remains. What this habit really protects is consistency. You remove willpower from the equation and replace it with architecture. Money that never reaches your spending account cannot be impulsively spent. Habit 9. Live below your new income longer than feels natural. Raises are supposed to feel like relief, but for many people, a raise simply upgrades the quality of their bills. A slightly nicer apartment, more delivery, new subscriptions, a newer car. 6 months later, the higher income feels normal and the stress remains. What living below your new income really creates is a gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap is where wealth actually grows. Even a modest $10,000 annual gap invested consistently over 25 years could grow into more than $500,000 depending on market returns. Wealth does not grow inside your salary. It grows inside the distance between your salary and your lifestyle. Habit 10. Build a second financial engine. Cutting expenses has limits. At some point, the game also becomes increasing income in ways that do not exhaust you. Instead of thinking about starting a huge business, think about building a second engine. Skills you already have, interests you already enjoy, knowledge you already possess. Writing, coaching, freelancing, tutoring, design, repair, consulting, digital products, small services. Even an extra $300 or $500 a month directed toward investments can dramatically accelerate your timeline. The purpose is not to become an entrepreneur overnight. The purpose is to create optionality. The boring math that creates millionaires. Here is the part most people underestimate. Imagine someone saves and invests $15,000 per year simply by avoiding a few financial leak points. That could come from driving an older car, reducing food waste, packing lunches, and automating investments. At an average long-term return of around 8%, that $15,000 invested annually could grow to roughly $1.2 million after 25 years. No viral side hustle, no perfect stock picking, just consistent behavior repeated for a long time. Action ladder: what to do in the next 72 hours. Delete one shopping app from your phone. Choose 5 default meals you can repeat this week. Set one automatic transfer the day after your paycheck arrives. Pick one convenience purchase you will stop paying for daily. These steps are small, but systems are built from small decisions, repeated consistently. Financial freedom rarely begins with something dramatic. It begins with removing the leaks that quietly drain your life. Thanks for watching.